I'll be right with you guys in a moment. How's everybody doing? I figured I'd push a live stream with this stuff instead of recording it and then having to upload it and jump groups, so I do it all in one shot. So we're going to get right at it. Hey, 1GMM, my name is Steve. I'm here in Vermont, and my hair is going gray and falling out in chunks. And I am really tired, man. I've been at this all afternoon, all day. I'm not going to waste too much time with my mindless dribble. So we're going to dive right into it. I'm going to cover a bunch of things with Thetis. I am running the 21A7 update, Protocol 1 non-200D of Thetis, Mike Whiskey 0 LGE, a 64 Fire right here. And good to see you, Mark. Good to see you guys. I wouldn't say I'm burning the midnight oil, but man, what a day. So I got so much to show you guys. This is relevant for Apache lab owners. I went and I installed the Apache, the Thetis updated version of Thetis that Richie is working on, Mike Whiskey 0 LGE. It is unflippin' believable. So I'm going to get to all the things that I'm just completely blown away with at the end of this video. And I'm going to show you a couple things, how I approach the gradient Panadapter. Good Lord, there's just... there's a bunch of cool things. The automatic AGC function, which is unbelievable. And first, I'm going to, what you're seeing in this picture is a Midi controller. Hey, Argo. Yes. Well, Argo, my audio coming into YouTube is much different than what my audio is, ESSB audio, on the Apache. I have an EQ in there, because if I didn't do that, it would blow the speakers off your walls. So I tried to flatten it out a little bit. It's probably got a little bada boom in there, but we'll go with it. So the YouTube audio is not what's coming out of the Anan. So, anyways, so what you see here, which side would that be? Right there. Right there. Right. That is a MIDI control surface. It is the Korg Nano Control Studio. And what I do is I use this as an interface to navigate the different functions, activate functions, and different things in the Thetis software on the Apache. So one thing that it doesn't do, it does well only in one direction, is that knob you see on it is, I wanted to use that as a VFO, but it only works in one direction. It's a proprietary defunct of the Korg. And it's not a big deal, because what this particular device gives me, and I'll get into it in a moment, is the ability to virtually map every single function you can possibly think of on the Anan. So you know how you have like some of these big radios, like FTDX 5000, a TS990, and you know how you see all the buttons on the front? Well, what that does is it gives me basically the front panel of the radio, okay? And what you see, the bottom picture, is what I have mapped on this controller. So this controller has 50 buttons right out of the gate, plus 8 knobs and 8 sliders. However, the cool thing about this controller is you can set it up to have 6 scenes. So if you have 50 buttons on one scene, you can switch through the scenes with a touch of one of those buttons and go to a whole nother set of 50, and then another set of 50 from there. So you have a total of 300 buttons available on this thing. It's unbelievable. What I spent the entire I finished mapping it today to kind of give me a baseline, what I do, the most important things that I do with the radio and how I'm always working with the software, right? So this is kind of like a super speedy shortcut. The problem is it's so massive that I can't remember where anything is. Hence, I did this today. So this, I took a screenshot of the front panel of this thing, and I flew it into Photoshop, and I labeled all of the functions, all of the buttons, what they do, and the knobs, these 3 knobs right here, and all of these sliders have very specific functions. This device does work in spite of the lack of the VFO control. The functions on it, the buttons, the knobs, and the sliders are very, very nice the way it works with Thetis. Again, the VFO wasn't so important to me, but the other functions were. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show folks, if they want to get into something like this, how to make this work. So let me get back over to Thetis. I'm going to speed this up, man, because I am a person. So this is Thetis running on the Apache. All right. So the first thing you want to do is you want to plug your controller in and make sure it's the drivers are installed, blah, blah, blah. Whatever controller you're using, this is for all the Midi controllers. Doesn't matter what you use. I am just trying this one, and I really like it. So you want to plug it in, make sure drivers are installed. Some of these devices, like this one, comes with a control panel for this device. So you can go in and you can write your preferences to the firmware inside the unit. And then once that's done, and you get it set up kind of to your liking, then you can go and you can go ahead and launch Thetis, get it open, and now let me show you how to make that work. So the first thing you want to do is go to Setup and over to Cat Control, and you're going to see this window right here. See this button, Configure Midi. You want to open this, and what that's going to do is it's going to open the Midi controller setup window. All right, these are all of the buttons I have mapped and sliders. It's pretty ridiculous, isn't it? There's like a total of, I don't know. I don't even know. Well, there's 50 buttons mapped, and there's 60, so that'd be 8, 16, 66. No, that's not true, because I have these 5 that are not currently mapped, but they will be. So 61, I guess, right? So 50 plus 8 plus 3, 51 mapped functions so far. So the first thing you want to do, open, get your Midi controller setup window open. And when you press a button, right, all you have to do is choose which button. So let's say you want to, start the software, right? So once you open it up on a computer, you can set a button up to start it, stop it, and also close the software. So let's say you want this button right here, right there, to start the software. So all you have to do is push that button. You'll see this window pop up, and I already have this mapped. Now, the way this works in here is you want to make sure you put the name in. Something has to go in as far as the control name before you choose the button, okay, or whichever function it's going to be. So let's say this is power, so you label it power, and you click this drop-down box, and you choose whichever it is, button, knob, or slider, wheel. Now this is a button, so you choose button, and that's already open as you can see. And you scroll down through the list and you should select what you want that button to do. Click on it and click done. That's it. That button is mapped. That's all there is to it. It is extremely tedious. I'm just telling you right now, it is really tedious. It's a long process. Make sure you back up your database to an external drive outside of Thetis directories. This will work in MRXPS, any flavor of Thetis, doesn't matter. All these features are in there. So once that's done, you click done. I'm not going to do it because I already have it mapped. So, and you do that for each individual button, slider, blah, blah, blah. All right. So, and then you hit save at the bottom corner and boom, that is history. So what I'll do right now, it may be a little difficult to see, but what I'm gonna point some things out to you. So let's hit cancel on this. And so what I'm gonna do is when you watch, this is the start stop button. All right, and if you watch the software, I can expand this out a little bit so maybe you can see it a little better. If you're watching on a smartphone, get it. I just want to make sure you can see the functions as I do it. There. So if I push this button, you'll notice it'll stop the software. Boom, software stopped. Restart it, just hit the button again, off and running. The button right next to it is a close, so it will close Thetis. I'm not going to use that. So I will show you just a few things. Third button over is a squelch. If you look right here, this is the squelch on and off. So you push this, notice the green light comes on. Okay. This is what's called C-tune. I guess it means continuous tune, or I don't know what that technically stands for. But if this isn't on, and this is the button right here, C-tune, and if you're running Thetis or an Anan, you'll be constantly fussing with this thing. Sometimes it remembers it, sometimes it doesn't. After it closes and reopens again, don't ask. I have no idea. Don't care. So if this isn't on, and I just shut it off, see the RX filter will always center in the Panadapter. And I don't like that sometimes because what ends up happening is it is handy. Like if you click, let's say I wanted to go to this frequency right here, and I click here, right? I'll see how it jumped to the center frequency. Well, to my mind, it's very confusing because it slid the whole Panadapter. So if I turn CTUN on, which is right here, turn that on, now I can go anywhere in the Panadapter and it functions like what I'm used to. You know, of course, you can go to the top and you can drag the whole Panadapter. Of course, that's not really that relevant. So that's a whole different. All right, so let's just run through a few other things you can see them work. The NR2, very, very valuable. That's right here. So you can toggle the NR2 on and off just by hitting that button. Okay. The zoom function is kind of nice. So you can come over here to this slider right here. And if you watch, this is the zoom slider right here. And that will zoom in if you want to see, if you want to zoom in on a signal, you can push this, bring this right up, push the slider up, and it will zoom right in on that signal. All right. So let's see. Oh, this is something I use a lot. So let's say a lot of noise on the band. I want to pull the diversity window up. Well, instead of navigating up here and going to diversity, I can just hit this button. Boom, pops the diversity window up. And this button right here turns it on. Right there, toggles it on and off. And then I can whip the bullseye around until any bumps or humps or noise on the Panadapter disappear. So shut that off, close it with a button. If you go up here, this VFO sync, now this is what I use to run multi-RX, which I really, really love. Neat feature on the Anan, I actually mix two different antennas. They're cross-polarized. One is vertically polarized, 65-foot vertical on 80 meters. The other is a full-wave loop delta on 80 meters. Delta is horizontal, vertical is vertical. And many times, like when I'm on the vertical, if I'm on the vertical, I can hit the multi-RX button and it will bring in the second antenna and mix it. The problem is you need the VFO sync on, this button up here. So VFO sync is up here. This is your RX1. This is my RX1 primary control area. All right. So, and this functions on the RX1 as well. And I spend most of my time on RX1, but I do use the RX2, the second receiver. So I can hit this. And if you look up here at the very top button, VFO sync, this will toggle on and off. Now, to use the multi-RX function, you have to have that, because if this isn't on, VFO-B is not going to be synced to VFO-A. So you're going to be on a whole separate frequency, and it will bring that antenna in. So you can turn that on. And now if you go down to the very next button, this is multi-RX. So if you come down here, you can kind of see where I'm going. See how you got to do a lot of jumping around? To up here, over here, play around up here and here, over here, here and here, and oh my God. You know, the beautiful thing about Thetis is that everything's right here. Yeah, it may be ugly, but it is pure function. Everything you need is right here to run this radio, right? So I can just hit this toggle that button right there, the number 2 button down. Just toggle that, multi-RX, boom. Mix those two, hit the VFO sync. So you guys get the gist of it, right? Now I have all my band switching. So if we come over, this is for RX2, this row. These are all the bands. This is 160, 80, 40, 20, 17, 15, 12, 10. All right, these strips right here are for RX1. This is for the second receiver, a mirror, carbon copy for the second receiver. So I have independent control of the second receiver as well. This is kind of cool. I set up some fine adjustments so I can adjust the tuning steps. If you look up here for fine tuning, I have it at 500 hertz right now, which basically 0 beats to either 68.2 or 68.15. Now, if I needed a finer adjustment, I can just toggle those. So, you know, if I wanted to go tuning step up and I wanted to go to like 1 kilohertz, I could just hit that button, see it jump to 1 kilohertz. If I want to go down to 100 hertz, let's say I'm working a contest, there's a lot of people, even on 20 meters, sometimes during the day, you'll see people on like 14, 2172 or 2178 or something like that. Well, 100 hertz will get me there. You see what I'm saying? So put it back to 500 hertz. This is very nice if you're switching between bands. 80 is a very noisy band, as you can see, and I will get into this at the end of this video. So these functions right here, these two sliders right here, are my spectrum low and spectrum high ranges. So this is my spectrum low range. So let's say, you know, I light up 80 meters and the freaking thing is like way up here like this, where I can just grab this slider and move that down. And I'll get into why the why the spectrum looks the way it does at the end of this video. The high range, that's on this slider, next slider over. So I can adjust the high range. I can move these signals way down. It's just a very rapid, fine adjustment. So I think you guys get that. So I mean, that's pretty much it. There's not much you can't do with it. The AGC mode is very cool. That's the third button over. So if you look right here, right? Well, sometimes you know how you got to fuss with your AGC speed. It's reaction time. Like on a 7300, you have your slow, medium, fast. Well, you can just twist this knob, and I can go to medium, fast, custom, and then go back to fixed, long, slow. Just leave it on slow. So that's basically it in a nutshell. That's how that whole thing works. Very easy to set up, but very tedious. And it's going to take me a long time to memorize this. So I'll give you a quick look at the mapping. Again, before we close this out with some features, jump over here. So this is the controller mapped. So you can see what I did here. And don't ask me to do this for anybody. I'm not going to do this again. This took me like 2 or 3 hours to do this. And that doesn't include the mapping. But I needed a reference. I think what I may end up doing is printing this out and just using it as a reference. It'll probably take me a month or two to be. I'm already learning it just after a couple of hours of operating it, but there's just so much in here. I can't remember where anything is, and I tried to set it up logically, and it's probably not. There's probably a better way to do it, but I'm going to learn it this way because I'm too lazy to change it after all that hell. Anyways, Kishore, how you doing? Good morning, I guess, from India. Nice to see you. Okay, so now we're on to the meat and the potatoes. So let's get back to Thetis. Actually, I'm going to get the controller off there for now. All right, so Thetis, the updates to Thetis. Holy moly, this thing, I'm telling you, this thing is a freaking monster. It is a monster now. I never see anything like it. So one thing you're going to notice, if you pay attention to this very closely, the AGC gain, you see this shifting by itself? Yeah. Richie built in an automatic AGC gain in this. So you don't even have to touch that free. I haven't had to touch it since I installed Thetis and I set it up. So I believe it's in DSP, AGC. Okay. Here it is right here in the updated Thetis. So you go to Setup, DSP, AGC, ALC. Make sure your box is checked. If you're using a second receiver and you want to use it on that box, make sure you check this one. Auto AGC 1 requires Pana Water. I guess it's Pana Waterfall, which I think is called the Panafall, which is what I'm running. So you set your dB offset, and what you want is a happy medium because you want the AGC to function if you've got a weak signal coming in there. So you really want to kind of toggle your noise reduction 2 on and off. Set it up with it off first, and find a weak signal. Make sure you can hear it okay. Let's say he's an S3 to 5. Make sure you can hear it okay. And then kick your NR2 on. If you can still hear him, but even clearer, run with it. And this pretty much slams the door shut at all times on any noise coming into that, from the IF. I mean, it crushes it. It's absolutely the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. It is flipping cool. And I'll show you something at the end and you won't even believe it. Anybody who's used to a conventional radio, when you see this, you'll be like, oh my God. Okay. Now, I wanted to explain, okay, let me do this first. All right, so I asked someone today, I couldn't get the record play function to work. So I'd record a signal. You know how you can record a signal over the air and play it back to them over the air? Wouldn't work. Well, here's the catch. It does work if you're not running on VAC. If you're bringing your mic, if you're not using the VAC, it will work right out of the gate. If you are using VAC, so if you go into audio, you notice I have my VAC running in here, right? So this VAC 1, it's running on the sound card. And you'll notice right here, it says bypass VAC for recording playback. You have to check this box. So if you check this box, hit apply, okay. Now, if you hit record and play, this is what, if you're running VAC to communicate back and forth from your radio, audio in, audio out, that box has to be checked. Now you hit record, record the file, go ahead and stop it, key the radio up and hit play, and it will play it back over the air. That works. Okay, onto the Panadapter. So what you're seeing on the Panadapter, there's a method to my madness here, right? So I have, if you notice, I have the noise floor line right here. So this is my noise floor, and you can see the Panadapter jumping. There's a lot of static crashing it, right? So that's running around minus 130 dBm, somewhere in there. Now on 20 meters, it's much, much lower. It's like minus 140, 145. I live in a very quiet place. I usually don't have to worry about noise too much. But when that thing is like super hot. So, what I do, so if I bring this up, let's bring the bass line up a little bit. So I'll bring that up a little bit. So the green down here is my quiet bass line, right? So the purple, on a quiet bass line, the purple is when I start to hear signals. And a lot of those signals I can work. They're right at the noise, right? So the next color we have is like yellow. Well, yellow, I set this up to work on the S unit scale, visually. So yellow is, I would say 5.9. I would say, yeah, probably 5.9, anywhere in there, right? So if I click on this is a little strong. Oh yeah, see, that's strong. Yeah, yellow is pretty much 5.9. That's how I set it up. So you notice it changes to blue if you look here. So blue is like up in the 20 dB range. So if I click here on this signal, you notice he's blue. Oh, yep, there it is. Top right-hand corner, that's 20 dB. So that tells me at a quick glance that signal is approximately 15 to 25 dB, right? Now, you'll notice that the peaks on some of these signals go into the red. Well, that's huge. When I see that, I know that signal is probably 30 plus. I'm waiting for that signal to pop back up over here somewhere. I think it's right here. It was really strong. Yep, right there. So he's 30 over. See how it's gone red at the top? So 30, 40, 50 over. I mean, that's all red. So that's how I set that up. Now you're going to ask me, well, how the heck do you make it do that? Oh, here we go. I'll show you exactly what I did. So, and Richie's got a video on this. So this is redundant, but I wanted to share why I do this, why I set it up the way I do. Go to setup, go to appearance, RX display. Make sure down here, make sure Panadapter gradient is checked. And you can add, I ain't going to touch this because I got it just the way I want it right now. You can add, I think by default it only has two, one at the bottom, one at the top. Now you can add as many of these as you want. You just click in it and it'll add them. Then you can drag them to correspond to how you want the Panadapter to look according to signal strength. That's how I do it. Now, you can also change the color of them, so you make sure it's highlighted, like this one is highlighted. Well, you can't do anything with that because that's the baseline. That's always there. So let's say this one right here. You can click on this, and then you can choose the color of it, right? You can go to more colors and blah. So I ain't going to touch it. So there's one thing which, so that's it for the gradient Panadapter. There's one thing I noticed. See this two-tone? Your two-tone function. The updated Thetis does not take into account the old buttons, some of the old buttons. So I found out today I have to go in W1AEX's page. You can go in and copy a script and go into Thetis and put this edit. You need to make a script, place a script in to basically make this button do this right here. If I hit this button, it goes white just like that, and it stays like that. It doesn't really bother me because I never use that, but I will fix it at some point. I think that's it. Hey, James, Ed, Andy, Orange County. Dickinson, my wife's maiden name. No kidding. Never met another Dickinson, James, aside from her family, so nice to meet you. And Eduardo, how's it going, man? And I hope you guys are doing well. I think that concludes the madness. Trying to think if there's anything else in Thetis that I really needed to cover. I think that's pretty much it. So, yeah, let me get the head of this. I want to actually demo it. Duh. So give me a second. I got to get this stuff on.
Stronger than last night. You're peaking at 15 over tonight. Last night you peaked at 10 over. So perhaps the band conditions are a little bit improved here tonight. Over.
All right, Bob. You're 20 over. Sounding good as you have been.
Other than that, just cleaning up stuff around the Ponderosa.
Okay. So what I want you to pay attention to is anybody who's run a conventional rig, like I have, 7300, conventional super hit, whatever. When you have static crashing in there, what I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to the Panadapter. When you see that Panadapter pop, I want you to notice the lack of noise. It is almost unbelievably dead silent with like freaking, how strong is the static crashing in here? If you watch the S meter, if I place it in a spot that is not, there's no signal there. Start the software. Come on. That was a pretty good one. 5 over. So if I kick NR2 out, I'm going to kick the NR2 out, the noise reduction. So that automatic AGC, boy, that is just a fine white hiss. Look at that. Look at that jump. And you can't even hardly hear the static in there. Let's kick the NR2 back in. So now what I'm going to do.
Let's see, what else can I tell you? I've got an ICOM 751 Alpha. I'll run about 500 watts from little help from a Drake L.
So I'll just kill the volume. I love this MIDI controller, man. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to bring in diversity, and I'm going to see if I can dial that in and pay attention to, look at that Panadapter hop. Let me get the volume back up.
Much in the past 10 years or so. But anyway, be curious if you could fill me in on the station details, all that good stuff. I had a beautiful day here in northern Ohio, 70 degrees, beautiful.
Okay, kick diversity in.
I'm not too big of a fan of what comes here in a couple months.
So
but
we can
anyway, what's
reduce it
down
even
in
more.
Scotts Depot, West Virginia, Tom, and if you could fill me in on the call sign and maybe tell me about the station, anything else you care to share. Alpha 8 question mark. Tom, back to you. This is WS8X.
Okay, very good. WS8X from AB8RL. Let me see here. Let me hold on a minute. I gotta make an adjustment here. One second.
Yeah, no worries. I got the call sign, I think. Now, ABL, Alpha Bravo 8, Radio Lima. Tom, I'll hang out on the side. This is WS8X. Stand by whenever you're ready to get back on after you make your adjustments.
Okay, very good. I think this is a little bit better. Let's see. Yeah, this is a FT. The radio here is an FTDX10 Yaesu. I got it this past year. Those were actually one of the first ones that came out. When they came out, I got them from DX Engineering, and they shipped it right to me. And I don't use it on a sideband too much. I'm pretty much.
Okay, so that's without diversity right there.
Or FTA.
So I'm going to kick diversity in.
And I was delayed getting
Ready?
back to you because I had to find the microphone in the drawer. I don't even keep it connected up. But I heard you putting out a call, and I wanted to come back to you since you were coming in so strong.
So that's with diversity in, without much fine tuning.
Radio Lima. And yeah, we're just about directly south of you. Probably
Very quiet.
250, 300 miles or so.
Craziest thing I've ever seen.
So, Joe, let me ask you. You're 10 miles south of Cleveland. Are you a Cleveland Browns fan? Over.
Well, Tom, I'm not a big sports fan overall, to be real honest. I used to be. Not gonna lie, I'm originally from near Dayton, Ohio, and I grew up a Bengals fan. I know it was kind of like a.
All right, so that's basically it, you guys. Have a good evening. I'll see you later. And wow, I'm kind of glad this day's over, but I really don't want it to end. So, oh, hurt me. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed it. Information is power, and it was longer than I wanted, but hey, we'll go with it, right? 7-3 all. We'll catch you all later. Have a super nice evening, and thanks for stopping by. Catch you soon.